souls. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Carolyn and this channel is all about true crime, mystery, and anything abnormal. I highly recommend subscribing because this channel is definitely a vibe. If you're watching this video the day it's uploaded, Friday, March 1st, I will be going live at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you would like to join, I will be live. Love to see you there, but let's get right into today's story. So you probably have heard of tandoori chicken. In this story, we're going to be talking about tandoori human. This story takes place in 1995 in Mumbai, India. On July 2nd, two police officers in Mumbai discovered a human body being cooked in a tandoori oven. Every homicide case is horrible, but there's something about when there's very unconventional ways either the crime was committed or the way they dispose of the body that makes it even more terrifying. So how did these two police officers make this discovery? Who was the victim and who on earth was responsible for this? It was around 11:30 p.m. on July 2nd, 1995, when two police officers, Kunju and Pal, were walking around near a hotel that had a restaurant inside the building. The two officers were on patrol and they were walking by a hotel that also had a restaurant inside, and they noticed that there was a fire inside of the restaurant and they went to investigate. Now, when they reached the restaurant to try to enter to see what was going on, how they could help, they were blocked from entering the restaurant. When Officer Kunju tried to enter into the hotel to reach the restaurant, they were stopped by security, and security told them that it was a small kitchen fire, it was taken care of, the fire was out, and it was just smoke kind of left over from this. And to the police officers, this seemed pretty reasonable. In kitchens, sometimes they have fires. And so it didn't seem very suspicious. I found it kind of suspicious that security would try to block them from entering. But the two police officers thought, okay, the fire's out, the situation's under control. And they just started continuing on along their patrol. But the fire was not out. The fire was escalating, and nearby merchants started noticing that the flames just kept getting higher and higher. As the officers walked a little farther, they started to look back and they noticed this fire was not under control. The flames were as high as 30 to 35 feet in the air, and they rushed back to see what was going on and how they could help. When they got back, again, they are stopped by security who do not want to let them enter, which is suspicious to begin with, because you'd think if your restaurant is on fire, you would want police and fire there to help you. But that was not the case. Once the police saw how high the flames were, again, they were denied entry. So they knew something was going on. So they got creative and they went around kind of to the back of the building, and there was a 7-foot tall wall, and they decided to climb the wall to gain access into this restaurant. Once they were finally able to make entry and see the actual fire, it was a fire that was coming out of the tandoor oven, which is a clay oven that gets extremely hot. It goes up to like 500 degrees. But the weird thing is that they noticed planks of wood and other, kind of pieces of logs and wood on top of the oven feeding the fire. So the people in this restaurant, at least the people in the kitchen that were involved in this, they weren't trying to put out this fire. They were trying to make the fire worse. They observed one man who was adding more bamboo and wood to the fire, and there were two other men just standing beside him watching him. The two police officers approached the man who was putting more and more wood and bamboo on the fire and told him to stop and asked him, "What the hell are you doing?" The man that was burning everything, he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. We're actually part of a political party, and this is just old flyers and banners and paperwork that we just kind of want to get rid of." So you have old flyers, posters, and your plan to get rid of it is to set a fire in a kitchen, in a restaurant, and the flames are like 30 to 35 feet high. Seems legit. And obviously the police were highly suspicious because it didn't make any sense at all. So the two police officers grabbed buckets of water and they just started trying to throw water onto the fire to put it out. They had already alerted to have the firefighters come for the fire, but until they arrived, these two police officers were taking buckets themselves, trying to put out the fire, and they were successful in putting out the fire. The thing that was frightening was once the fire was out and they went to investigate what exactly was in the tandoor oven. When Officer Kunju looked inside the tandoor oven, he was horrified to discover that what was actually burning was a dismembered human body. And it did not take long for news to travel and for everyone to find out. It was a complete frenzy. It was a media frenzy. Everyone in the area. It was a huge, huge story. Who on earth is grilling human in a tandoor oven in a kitchen in the middle of Mumbai? Like, it's crazy. So with the fire out, they were able to remove the body parts and they took it to the hospital to have an autopsy done. It was soon discovered that it was the 29-year-old body of Naina Sini. She was a Congress worker and her husband, 34-year-old Sashil Sharma, he also worked for Congress, which was a political party in India. When the autopsy was done, the cause of death was determined to be burn injuries, and that didn't make any sense. This was someone who had been cut up. She didn't die in the fire. Like, I'm not even sure how they thought that that was possibly going to go over. So when the cause of death of burn injuries came back, the media, the public, everyone went wild because they knew that this was not what had caused her death. The lieutenant governor of Delhi decided that there was going to be a second autopsy performed, and this time it would be conducted by 3 different doctors. When this autopsy was performed, the doctors very quickly discovered that there were 2 bullets lodged in Naina's head. So that was her cause of death. There was no doubt someone had shot Naina before trying to get rid of her body in the most disgusting way possible. So police first want to speak with her husband. Her husband, Sachinal, he was not reachable. Police kept trying to contact him, going to his house. They could not get in contact with him at all, which obviously raised a lot of suspicion. So the police decided to then go to investigate the people who were present at the fire. Through some efforts, police were able to arrest Kumar, and he had been the man who was the one putting wood and bamboo on top of the fire. And he was also the manager of the hotel that this restaurant was in. But police knew there were a lot more people involved. The police officers had witnessed several men standing around watching as Kumar was stoking this fire, making it worse. And they were very shocked to find out that one of the men standing there watching the fire was Naina's husband, Sashil. The police immediately began searching for Sashil, and he eventually realized that he wasn't going to be able to hide from this. Everyone was looking for him. So on July 10th, 1995, he ended up surrendering to the police. Like most cases involving spouses, cases usually concern fidelity. And in this case, Sachel believed that his wife was getting a little bit too close to a mutual friend of theirs. His name was Matlub, and he was a friend to both of them, but he was a little bit closer to Nana because they had been classmates in school. There is no confirmation that Nana was having an affair, and even if she wasn't, obviously she doesn't deserve to be murdered and grilled. But the couple started having a lot of fights regarding Nana's friendship with Matlub. And her husband, he was very suspicious without a lot to go by. One time he came home and Nana was on the telephone and she was talking to someone, and as soon as her husband arrived, she hung up the phone. And her husband wasn't going to take that. So he took her phone and dialed back the number that she had just been speaking with, and it was Matlub who had answered. And at that moment, to him, that was all the confirmation he needed. He believed she was having an affair, so he took out a gun and ended her life. He then proceeded to wrap her body in plastic and put her into his car. He then drove to the restaurant where her body was burned, and he made a deal with the manager, who was the one who was, stoking the fire, adding the bamboo. He made a deal with him that they were going to dispose of her body in the oven at the restaurant. In 2007, Sachel was sentenced to death for the murder of his wife. And Kumar, who was the manager at the restaurant, who had basically been the one who started the fire, maintained the fire, he was sentenced to 7 years of vigorous punishment. And I was like, what is vigorous punishment? And I'll tell you, I love it. I looked up, got on Google. I was like, what does that mean? In India, when they say vigorous punishment, what does that mean? It means hard labor. Now, I'm telling you, I can't think of a better thing that should happen to someone who commits murder, any other horrific crimes, anything against kids. Like, I think in the Western world, we need to incorporate vigorous punishment in jails. I think you take someone's life, you need to spend the rest of your life working your ass off. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if it's productive, but let's make them work harder. So I got to say, in India, they got it right with that one. And I think we could all learn something, that maybe our prison system needs to be a little bit more vigorous. But that's just my opinion. In 2013, Sachel, who was her husband, who had previously been sentenced to the death penalty, was then lowered to life imprisonment because he didn't have a criminal record. Who cares? And it was against his wife. So apparently, if you commit a crime, like murder against your wife, that's not as bad as if you murder someone randomly on the street. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. I'd love to know your thoughts on that one. I don't think whether you know someone or don't someone, if you take their life and then burn their body in a friggin' oven at a barbecue restaurant, it's just as terrible. But here's the problem. Nobody's in prison anymore. No. After Sachel served 23 years, they were like, okay, you're done. Go about your life. And obviously Kumar, who was only sentenced to 7 years of vigorous punishment, which I'm still so excited about. Obviously he's been released by now. But yeah, the husband started out, they were going to, give the ultimate punishment of taking his life. Then they put it down to life imprisonment. And then after 23 years, they decided, yeah, you've done enough. So feel free to go about your life. And it's so, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Somebody is outside and their car is stuck in the snow. I hope you can't hear that. If you do, I apologize. But Kunju, who was the officer who was not letting this be covered up, when they tried to stop him go through the restaurant, he was climbing over 7-foot walls. He was given 5 rupees, which is less than a penny. Canadian, American, I think anything, it's less than a penny. That's what he was given as a thank you for your service. He ended up retiring, and it seems as though he was kind of not treated that well in his job after he was the one who had discovered all of this and didn't just walk by and let things continue and actually put a stop to it to recover what was left of Naina's body. He ended up, just not having a really great time, and he ended up retiring. And it's really sad when he had kind of gone above and beyond and done everything he could in his power to try to stop what was happening. Yeah, they decided, we're going to give you a penny for your hard work. Thank you for your service. Like, it's almost more insulting to give someone a penny than to not, But I think, there were some people, because the husband and the wife, the victim and the perpetrator, they were involved in a political party, and I'm assuming that maybe that had something to do. And the entire situation is just so strange. A man who murdered his innocent wife and then grilled her in a barbecue restaurant is just walking free. And unfortunately, Naina lost her life, and it's just, it's really sad, and it's really gross. Like, why do people have to cook? Like, ew. There's something about, like, cannibalism that's just, like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's normal to be so disgusted by that. I don't know if you saw my video on, what's his name? Oh, Robert Pickton. He's a Canadian. It's a horrible story. He fed humans to pigs. And then it's also suspected, highly suspected, that he was selling human meat mixed in with pig meat and selling it to the public, but it was never confirmed, so I don't want to get in trouble. So we don't know, but we might know. So anyways, that is the end of today's video. If you are watching this when it is uploaded, it is, what day? It's Friday, March 1st, okay? So I'm going to upload this video in the afternoon, and I'm going live at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, Friday, March 1st. I hope that you guys will join me. I know I've said before that I would go live once I reached 2,000 subscribers, and yes, we've done it. Thank you so much. You guys are so amazing. I appreciate you liking, supporting, just anything, watching the video, commenting, sharing the video. All of it means so much to me. I'm so excited about everything that's happening with the channel, and I have so many good stories. I know this video is probably going to be a little bit shorter because there was limited information. I just found, it was an interesting story I'd never heard of, so I wanted to do a video on it. But I have some really exciting stories and scripts ready that will be coming up shortly. So there is lots happening. And if you can see, the new background. If you watched my last video, you'd know my cats had a little issue, and they just kept destroying everything I would put up there. So I got all new stuff, and I think it looks pretty. I feel like I haven't really ever had that the way I liked it. For Halloween, I liked the background I have. At the very beginning, I kind of had a good situation, but now I'm in love with it. So let me know what you think. Do you love it? It's so pretty. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you're able to, I hope to see you live later tonight if you're watching this the day it's uploaded. And yeah, I just again want to say thank you all so much. You guys are so amazing. You mean the world to me. And yeah, I will see you in the next one or later tonight.